Hello viewers, thank you for joining us today. My name is Veronique Malka. I'm the managing lawyer of the Canadian Law Group, a Canadian immigration firm working with NPZ Law Group in the United States. We have an affiliated law office in Montreal as well. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that comes up quite often in our practice. We often have clients requiring something called a TRP. That stands for Temporary Resident Permit. What is that? A TRP is a permission granted to someone at a border in Canada upon entry or through a consulate, a Canadian consulate, allowing a person to enter Canada for a temporary period of time. TRPs are often required when a person is technically inadmissible to Canada due to prior criminal activity. Also can be granted because of health risks or other problems that a person might have had with Canadian immigration. But today we'll focus on criminal issues. When a person has had a prior charge or a conviction in the US, they are technically inadmissible to Canada. In order to overcome this and be able to go to Canada either for a personal visit, a business visit, for whatever reason, it is important to take a few preemptive steps. We never recommend that our clients just simply go to Canada and try and explain it out with an officer. This is an area of law that does require careful approach, and some of our lawyers here are specifically trained in this area, having had a formation in criminal law as well as immigration. Here today is what I'd like to do is just break it down into a few simple steps, as simple as we can be on this video, to allow you to prepare yourself better for a border application for a TRP. We're not going to be discussing a consulate application for a TRP, although they will be very similar. There will be specific forms required for a consulate, whereas a border application may not require the forms. So first of all, I like to say, assume they know everything. When you approach a border, never go thinking they may not know about this prior shoplifting incident that you had when you were 17 or 19 and young and foolish. Assume they know. Assume it's on your FBI record, and assume that that's been shared with the RCMP in Canada and the border services have it, even if they don't say anything about it. What does that mean? That means that you need to volunteer the information. Yes, you need to volunteer the information. You're technically inadmissible. But you're going to do so, hopefully, in a way that you will be prepared. The border officers will appreciate you volunteering the information, and they'll also appreciate that you're prepared, you've consulted with a lawyer, hopefully, and you're prepared with the important information you need to provide to convince this officer that you should be allowed temporarily into Canada. You will answer all questions truthfully, obviously, and you will also appear with a properly prepared package. This package should contain, for example, supporting evidence, a letter of invitation from the company that you're visiting, an itinerary showing you will leave at the end of this temporary stay, all your charges and dispositions and sentencing, and the end of your probations, satisfactory proof that you've completed your probations, reference letters and character reference letters, not from family members, but prior employers or current employers if you can obtain those. And most importantly, a background clearance, an FBI record, an original preferably. Why? Because you want to show this officer that what you're saying is the truth. So if a client comes to the border and says, I've only had this one offense, but doesn't have an FBI clearance, why would the border officer be convinced that there was only one offense? There might be more on record. So with that FBI clearance, you will satisfy, hopefully, the officer that what you're saying is the truth and there was only one or two, or whatever happened is really what happened. Please understand, folks, secondly, that TRPs are 100% discretionary. They are a very fluid assessment. The interview that you will go through at the border by the officer will include a lot of questions, a lot of review of the materials that you're presenting, and the supporting evidence of why you're going to Canada will be extremely important. If a person is going to Canada for a temporary visit, that is to visit a relative they haven't seen in a long time, to go look at the CN Tower, the tourist, visit. That will not be as strong an application as an executive who has a very important meeting lasting 2 days in downtown Toronto. So again, the reason why you're going is very important. It's too difficult to go through all the possible reasons, but of course a case-by-case assessment is done, and again the test here has to be satisfied. What is this legal test? The legal test for a TRP issuance is the need for you to come to Canada more important? Does it outweigh the risk for health and safety to Canadians and to Canada? So that is something very important that an officer will assess. And obviously the longer you might stay in Canada, the higher the risk. So once again, if you're looking for a TRP that's up to 3 years with multiple entries, that is a higher onus of proof than if you're looking for a TRP for 2 days. We do recommend our clients have supporting evidence of how long they'll need to be there. If you're going for sales and you don't know how long you'll be there or how often you'll be coming back over the next year, it might be harder to convince an officer that you can support, he can give you a 1-year TRP. You might have to come up with a schedule of prospective dates subject to change. You might have to ask your contact in Canada to do a letter for you outlining possible dates in the future, and so on. I'd like to lastly talk about one very important area that we come across is DUIs. DUIs, driving under the influence, in the US are very common. Please understand that while in the US they may be treated even as traffic offenses at times, in Canada they are treated extremely seriously. In Canada, DUIs are treated as indictable offenses, which makes them the equivalent of felonies in the US. A DUI on a record is a serious issue, and it should not be taken lightly. Please try and get your DUIs expunged if you can, depending on the state in which you live in the US. An expungement means it never happened. Any charge might be open to expungement. Please check with your criminal lawyers in the US to see if that's an option. An expungement is always the preferable route. Going back to DUIs, if you have a DUI on record, have never served any jail time, have no other offenses on record as proven by your FBI report, you may be eligible to enter on a TRP without even paying the $200 fee for the TRP document. This is a one-time exception that the government made a couple of years ago because DUIs are so common. Oftentimes there's an office party, a person drinks too much, makes a mistake, and regrets it endlessly. That one DUI should not mark them from being able to conduct business in Canada, and that's the reasoning behind this exception that was created a couple of years ago. Again, it's a case-by-case assessment. We do need to discuss with you to see whether you will, be able to avail yourself of this exception. But it is nice to see that CIC and the Border Services do recognize that people are human and do make mistakes and hopefully learn from their mistakes. Please be in touch with us if you need further advice on inadmissibilities or TRPs. All the best, folks.